is up, ball knowers, ball lovers, and those that think they know ball just because they have the app formerly known as Twitter. Thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Syborg, and today we're going to be discussing Shaq, Diesel, O'Neal coming out with a top 10 list that was just truly abysmal. It was out on a Netflix movie or Netflix special in the last couple days. And I'm looking through this list, and there's one name that's just very clearly missing. And it was just an all-around terrible list. But without Kareem Abdul Jabbar, no top 10 list is eligible or good, in my opinion. You can have opinions, you can debate this stuff. But without Kareem Abdul Jabbar, your list is completely invalid. We're going to discuss that and a couple other problems that I had with the list. Before we get into it, make sure you take a second to subscribe. We're on the road to 1,300 subscribers, and we are almost there. Any support is appreciated. Any comment, discussion, if you want to argue with me, debate with me, feel free to do so. Kareem Abdul Jabbar is a top 10 player, so maybe don't debate that. But anything else on the list, I have no problem with. But let's start with this. Shaquille O'Neal's list. Number 1, he has Michael Jordan. Number 2, Kobe Bryant. Number 3, LeBron James. Number 4, Magic Johnson. 5, Bill Russell. 6, Wilt Chamberlain. 7, he has Larry Bird. 8, Hakeem Olajuwon. 9, Timmy Duncan. And 10, Julius Irving. Now, let's start with this. Let me read you a quote from March 5th of 2025. Just 8-9 short months ago. As the supreme leader of the Big Man Alliance, I demand you fans start putting Steph Curry in that greatest of all time conversation. Just start putting him in the conversation. There's MJ, there's Kobe, there's LeBron. Start putting Steph in that conversation. I demand it. Can you go ahead and make a guess who said this quote on TNT just a few short months ago in 2025? That would be Shaquille O'Neal saying that he has Steph Curry. He demands you put Steph Curry in the GOAT conversation. Yet when I'm looking at his top 10 list, Steph Curry's not even in it. So he told me to put him with MJ, Kobe, LeBron, but he also doesn't have Steph Curry in the top 10. There's a lot of frustrations I always have when I hear people's top 10 lists, because one, they vary from each time that they read their list to you, that they try to tell you who they got in their top 10. They can vary so widely. Guys will move around from spot to spot, even if they haven't played games in 30 years. Where a guy can apparently go from number 4 to completely off the list in a few months, even though Steph Curry's just had another really good season in the NBA. Shaquille O'Neal is a guy who I have been highly critical of because I don't think the way that he talks about the NBA and talks about the sport is good in building up the sport, is good for the future, for the young guys. I think he tears it down a lot. And obviously, a lot of these old heads tend to kind of prop up older players. And I really don't have a big problem with that when you're talking about top 10 lists. Obviously, I'm not going to spend time in this video with a LeBron, Michael Jordan debate. That's just something that's been done too many times. And that's not my main focus right now, because I think it's arguable which one of those guys you like. So we're not getting into that. But the guy who is absolutely inarguable is Kareem Abdul Jabbar. There are 3 players in NBA history, and I'll maybe give you a fourth, but I'll go over that in a second. 3 guys in NBA history that have a debate for the greatest player of all time. Those are Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kareem Abdul Jabbar. And Shaq had him completely off of his list. Kareem Abdul Jabbar was the greatest high school player of all time, the greatest college player of all time. In the NBA, has the most MVPs of all time. He also is a 6-time NBA champ. So Michael Jordan has 6 titles and 5 MVPs. Kareem has 6 titles and 6 MVPs. And I'm not arguing that Kareem is definitely better than Michael Jordan. That's not my point. My point is that if you do not have Kareem Abdul Jabbar in your top 10, your list is invalid. Kareem Abdul Jabbar, 2-time scoring champ. For his career average, 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. He won 8 titles with the Milwaukee Bucks, and he won 5 titles with the Los Angeles Lakers. He was the Rookie of the Year, 11-time All-Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time block champ, rebound champ, Like I said, 6-time MVP, 2-time scoring champ, 2-time finals MVP. Yeah, he played with some good players in Magic Johnson and Oscar Robertson, but they also got to play with him. And I see Magic Johnson listed as 4th on this list all time. And we know that a lot of these other players have had great teammates and great peers amongst them. Kareem Abdul Jabbar at age 41 was still in the NBA, made the All-Star game. But let me read the first, I don't know how many years, the first 17 years of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career. As a rookie of the year, 3rd in MVP. Next year, MVP. 3rd year, MVP. 4th year, 2nd MVP. 5th year, MVP. 6th year, 5th in MVP. 7th and 8th year, MVP. 9th, 10th year, 4th in MVP. 11th year, MVP again. 12th, 13th year, 4th in MVP. 14th year, MVP again. He also finished 3rd, 10th, 4th, and 5th the remaining of those years. He won 6 NBA championships. He made the All-Star game. Oh, crap. All right, 19 times Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made the All-Star game and 15 times was All-NBA. If you're looking at the totality of a basketball career, no one's basketball career is better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's. He was definitely the best college player of all time. I believe he never lost in college, and he only lost one time. Or I believe he never lost in high school and only lost one time in college. Now, I don't know if we forget that because his name was Lou Alcindor at the time. But you're talking about a player that came into the NBA, won Rookie of the Year, and started winning titles and MVPs almost immediately. So to not have him in your top 3, I think, is totally egregious, but certainly not in your top 10. Julius Irving, great basketball player. It's a little hard to, talk about his career because, the first few years were spent in the ABA, which was a very good basketball league, but you had 2 leagues that were broken up in the NBA and ABA. They eventually came together. Julius Irving went from the ABA to the NBA. He won at both MVPs, at both. But his career is not better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, and I'm really surprised Shaquille O'Neal, especially as a guy who loves big men and played for the Los Angeles Lakers, that he would forget Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And I don't know if this is he just forgot about him or if this was intentional. But either way, it is egregious to not have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in your top 10 players of all time. Like I said, he is one of 3 players you could argue has the GOAT in NBA history. We spend a lot of time talking Michael versus LeBron. I think Kareem's right up there. And if you want to throw in Bill Russell, if you're strictly someone that says, let's forget about eras, he played 12 years and won 11 rings, I believe is what it was, or played 13 years and won 11 rings, one or the other. I'm okay with you saying that or having that train of thought. But otherwise, those 3 guys got to be in your top 10 NBA players of all time, and certainly, in my opinion, top 5. My other problems with the list is, obviously, Kobe Bryant is a very beloved NBA player and an NBA legend, and we know that Kobe and Shaq had their beef when they played together in Los Angeles. They made up later on in life, and I'm sure that, Shaq playing with Kobe biases his opinion a little bit. But there's no argument for Kobe Bryant to be the best player in NBA history, because you cannot argue that he had a better career or better anything than Michael Jordan, and they played pretty similar in a lot of ways. Jordan was the more efficient scorer. He won more MVPs, a little better defender. He just did everything that Kobe did, but just a little better. Kobe Bryant is closer, and I know that this is controversial, but this is just strictly, my opinion and what I think the reality of how you should rank these guys. Kobe Bryant is closer to 10th than he is 1st. He's in that back half of the top 5. He's not better than Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a player that I have long felt is underrated because he didn't have the flash that Kobe Bryant had. They didn't have the flash that LeBron and Michael Jordan and some of these other Magic Johnson had. But you're talking about a player that won at a clip that we've scarcely ever seen. His winning percentage is one of the top of all time. 5 championships, obviously, has more MVPs than Kobe Bryant, more finals MVPs than Kobe Bryant. Kobe also missed the playoffs right smack dab in the middle of his prime, which is held against you, unfortunately, when you're talking about nitpicking top 10 lists of all time. Tim Duncan, ultimate glue guy for his team. His teammates, you can't argue that he had the best teammates of all time, like a Shaq, like, LeBron's had really good teammates. MJ had Pippen, Magic and Kareem had each other. Bill Russell played with pretty much all Hall of Famers at the time. Wilt Chamberlain had Jerry West, and so on and so forth. Tim Duncan had a very good player in Manu Ginobili and a very good player in Tony Parker and a very good coach in Greg Popovich. But you cannot argue that he is disqualified or lowered on the list because of his teammates and the skill set of them. So he's a player that I've long felt is underrated, and he just has to be higher than 9, and Kobe has to be lower than 2. They played in the same era. Tim Duncan has the better basketball career. Now, this is a conversation I got in with a friend at work the other day. If you want to look at an NBA player and say that I watched these two guys and I just simply believe he's the better player, obviously I cannot argue with you if that's your opinion, and I'm willing to listen if you feel like you watch the careers of Kobe and Tim Duncan and you say, I think Kobe contributed to winning and, was more impactful for his team than Tim Duncan. I would disagree with you, but I'm okay with that being your train of thought. But the way that I rank these guys at the end of their career is by their accomplishments and what they accomplished in their time in the NBA. Because when you're comparing a guy who plays in 2026 right now to a guy who played in 1965, it's pretty hard to watch their 2 games and be like, oh, well, yeah, obviously the guy who plays now is considerably better than that guy. But I don't think that that's a fair way to do it. I think the best way that you can do a ranking is to look at the guys and what they accomplished in their time playing basketball. And that's how I kind of make my rankings and why I prioritize what Kareem Abdul Jabbar was able to accomplish. Guys like Bill Russell, even though it was maybe in a little different era of basketball. Those players were dominant. They really set the tone for what the league is today. And they were so unique. So that's my primary problems with this Shaq list. I'm a little surprised he doesn't have himself on it. You could certainly make the argument that Shaq's a top 10 player of all time. I love that he gave some love to Hakeem Olajuwon, one of my favorite players of all time. And we're not going to get into the GOAT debate other than the fact that Kareem is the guy who should be in that conversation. And Shaq, if you're saying that Steph's in the conversation 9 or 10 months ago, let's not leave him off your top 10 list today, because that makes 0 sense, is inconsistent, and you'll have trolls on the internet who will use your list and use your expertise, Shaq, as a legend of the game. They take that as gospel. So let's make sure that we're intentional about what we're talking about, that it's accurate and that it's consistent. That's what we want to see more in NBA talk and NBA circles, in my opinion, is consistency, is accuracy, and building up the game of basketball. That's all we got for you today. Make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. Like I said, hit that like button if you would. Appreciate y'all watching. Syborg out.